So for this year, we have seen such a substantial gain in the stock market. Dow's at all-time high, Nasdaq, S&P's at all-time high. It broke 6,000. I personally never even would have thought that the portfolio would have returned this much on a year-to-date scale. I mean, we're living in great times where if we're not invested, we're simply losing out on profits or opportunity. And if we're just looking at it from a year-to-date perspective, at one point I did hit just shy of 70% year-to-date. Years like this typically don't happen if you look at the average return of the S&P 500, but of course I have a lot of risk tolerance in the stock market. So, typically I'm very averse to seeing stock market swings and whatnot. I don't play extremely risky plays. Like, I'm not very deep in stock options, and I'm not very deep in leveraging other type of holdings that would put my portfolio at a very, bad risk of losing a lot of equity. But as you can tell, I have seen a couple of dips and then they've pulled back. One of the things that I am honestly most proud of is the fact that I've held NVIDIA throughout the whole entire year, and the fact that a lot of people have talked badly about the stock itself, saying it's very overvalued, which to a certain degree, I feel like most stocks are overvalued. But when you look at it in the perspective of how many people are invested in the stock, how many institutions have big money invested into the company, and also keep in mind that a lot of these large tech stocks that are in the S&P, and then now that we have Nvidia and Amazon on the Dow Jones, they're also in a lot of different funds. So when people are buying funds, whether it's ETFs or even retirement account funds, money is going into those stocks, regardless. It's not just retail investors pumping up money into the economy. And as you can tell, I'm still holding strong. We're still seeing a very strong return. So I think that, by the end of the year, we could see a push to where NVIDIA could be holding above at least 140 a share. I do think that it's just going to be a nice, Christmas rally for the most part, since Amazon got included into the Dow Jones. We've seen it grow. I wouldn't say substantially, but I would say more than moderately. What I mean by that is if we look at it in the past few months, it's had a very nice strong uptrend, right? Just shy of 30% year to date. Now, what I like the most about this is that, I'm heavily invested into Amazon. I have over 20% of my portfolio just in the stock. Since they've been included in the Dow Jones, keep in mind they've been contributing to the Dow Jones, however many points of a swing that it contributes to the Dow Jones. Amazon's been helping the Dow uptrend, which is great. And then year to date, it's had a fantastic year. A couple people I've spoken with have said, oh, it hasn't grown as much as Nvidia or, other stocks like Tesla. But you have to keep in mind, when you look at a company like Amazon, right? You look at its market cap, it's almost a $2.5 trillion market cap. That is insane. It takes a lot to move a company like that. It takes a lot of institutional investors and it takes a lot of money basically to move a company like that. So it shows that the fact that it's still been growing, well into the very end of the year, it shows I do believe that consumer sentiment is starting to increase again. I don't want to get into the economics of it, but I do think that with us going into 2025, I do think that under Trump's presidency, we're going to see a very strong stock market. Just looking at it from that perspective, I do think that the economy is going to flourish, and I do think that businesses are going to perform exponentially. Now, one of these stocks that I really wanted to talk about, I'll get to in just a second. But first, Tesla. Let's talk about Tesla real quick. So, of course, Tesla has been an absolute dog. The whole entire year, it's had a little bump, and all of a sudden, it comes back within the last 3 months of trading. And partly, I believe that it's because of Trump. Trump wants to lessen regulations. He wants to basically allow free market. And when I look at it in the perspective of you shouldn't be forced to buy an electric vehicle. California, they're trying to basically are going to be mandating by somewhere in 2030s, you have to have an electric vehicle. They won't have any more gas vehicles for sale. I think that's ridiculous. And electric vehicles are very expensive. It takes a lot of precious minerals to make a Tesla, and it's a lot of technology, a lot of machinery, manpower, and whatnot. And the fact that, when after Trump got elected, Tesla just rallied. And I believe it's because Elon Musk is going to be working closely with Trump and whatnot, whether it's with regulations, which is a big thing with these electric vehicles. There's a lot of regulations. And the fact that if we can make electric vehicles more affordable and there were less regulations, it might improve consumer sentiment for the average investor. And of course, I'm only holding a few shares here. I don't have the majority of my shares elsewhere, but I was holding at a complete loss for a while. But I had conviction that Trump would most likely win, just looking at it from, a realistic standpoint. Seemed like the average voter and the average optimist in this stock market and economy feel like it's better with Trump in office. And obviously, you can tell because the stocks have begun to rally. As they say, nature is healing. And here, Tesla makes up a very small percentage of my portfolio, but sometimes not by choice, it becomes a larger part of your portfolio because you have a high sense of security here in terms of what you want to invest in and the conviction, which I don't believe, Tesla here is just a car company in my portfolio. I believe it is a strong AI player. They're coming out with so much more in 2025 than we could even fathom. They came out with the Cybertruck in 2024. It was voted like one of the top pickup trucks of the year, and it's an electric vehicle. It's not even a gas guzzler. Tesla is also coming out with their robo taxis. They're coming out with their Optimus robots, and it's insane like how much Elon Musk is. I don't even want to say he's inventing, but what he's giving to humanity on a technological scale that I don't think people can even fathom. Like Tesla is already a giant company. They broke back into the $1 trillion market cap, and with Elon running multiple companies, he's. I feel like this is just the beginning. People think that Tesla can hit a $10 trillion market cap. I believe so. I don't think it's impossible. But yeah, I think that Tesla is back up to where it should be. We're seeing a super strong, basically vertical uptrend, and I don't know where the support levels look there, but I believe going to 2025, Tesla could very well break into the $500 to $600 range because people want it to happen. Investors have that much conviction in the stock and the amount of money pouring into Tesla. It'll most likely make it happen. Last but not least, this is a stock that I've wanted to talk about for the longest time, but I've always kept it under wraps because I didn't quite really know exactly where the stock was going to go. And it basically comes down to if it does really well, you'll hear about it. If it doesn't do well, you won't hear about it. So SoundHound AI, you might have heard this stock has become really big in the last year or so. I've been holding this stock since about May or June of 2023. When it was trading, I think between like $2 and $3 a share. Now, ironically enough, my father heard about the stock on a Fox News segment, and he said, "Oh, what is this SoundHound stock?" And it was recommended by some analyst. And he said this analyst said that he actually met with the CEO, wanted to learn more about the company, and he always tries to meet with the CEOs before he invests in a company, which is amazing if you have that opportunity and the resources. And I was researching this stock and I said, the AI voice recognition industry is so small, in my opinion. It has so much opportunity. It's like a niche, right? And there's a lot of smaller companies trying to break into that niche. So I feel like the barrier to entry would probably be around the median range. It's not extremely easy, it's not extremely hard, but in terms of a growing company, your financials maybe don't look the best, and you're a growing company, so your earnings are probably going to be negative, which SoundHound still is in the negative when it comes to earnings. It's still in the negatives, but it's growing year over year. It grew something like 85+% year over year when they had their last earnings for Q3. And it was amazing how much they've grown in just the past year alone. They're scaling very quickly. And I've been sacking up a lot of SoundHound just in this account, and of course in my other account. But my goal was to build, in this account, 10,000 shares. And I wanted to do it before it broke $5 a share. And then, of course, it had a few catalysts that helped it break out. And the first time, when it broke out was typically when, well, ironically enough, when NVIDIA mentioned that they invested into SoundHound AI through their 13F filings, which they have to disclose. And that gave SoundHound so much clout to where all of a sudden, SoundHound was in like, news articles. It was on Google articles and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, the CEO was sitting down with people to have like talk shows and interviews. And then, of course, the clout died down a little bit, and it was basically holding for the longest amount of time, basically all throughout 2024, flat for the most part. And I said, but you know what? In my opinion, it has such a strong support level. It's going to need a strong catalyst to break it out. And then, of course, it basically broke out within the last, month. and as you can tell, it's up substantially. They made a partnership with this food chain called Torchy's Tacos, and Torchy's Tacos has dozens and dozens and dozens of locations. I think they have something like 300 locations, and they made this partnership with Torchy's Tacos to where they would SoundHound AI would be implementing the voice recognition for ordering tacos. I believe even training, and then basically assisting at the kiosk, assisting with orders and whatnot. And SoundHound AI has so much technology integrated into it, right? For food franchises and other types of industries they're involved in, like the car industries, they have patents to where they assist with AI assisted technology inside of cars, like when you're trying to get directions somewhere. Uh, the technology can also understand not just languages, but different dialects in languages. People don't realize how important that is. Like when you look at cultures like Asia, even South American or wherever, there's not just specific languages, there's also dialects within those languages. And SoundHound AI has actually been able to integrate and actually understand those dialects, which is it's amazing what they're doing as a company. And then of course it finally broke out and it's up almost 600% year to date, and I'm up just shy of 200%. And you look at a return like this, and of course my average cost says $5.09. At one point it was about $3, even less than that. But like I said, I'm trying to build up to 10,000 shares, and I wanted to wait until it hit maybe $6 a share, and I was optimistic it could do it by 2025. And here we're at, at one point it did break $15 a share. So cat's out of the bag. It is probably one of my best performers year to date, in my opinion. It's outperformed most other tech stocks, and it's outperformed Nvidia, so Palantir as well. And the CEO, he's doing great things. He's leading a great company, and I think that with the acquisitions they're making and the partnerships that they're making, they're going to vertically integrate into the AI recognition industry to where they're going to be unstoppable. In my personal opinion, I have a lot of conviction in this company. I've been following them for well over, I think a few years now, and then kind of caught wind when they IPO'd. But when I finally bought into the stock a year and a half ago, I just had so much conviction in the stock, knowing that not just the stock and the way it's growing, because the stock price doesn't necessarily dictate a company's performance, but you look at their earnings and you look at what they're doing, partnerships, acquisitions, they're doing so much. And I feel like this is just the very beginning. I've asked a few people, like, what do you think a price target is for SoundHound that would be reasonable? And at one point, if you said maybe a year ago, they go, oh, maybe $6, $7. And now, since it's broke $15 a share, I'm hearing a price target in the $20, $25, dollar range. I said, this company is barely getting started. In the next year, 2025, you could very well see, SoundHound at $20 to $40 a share. And a lot of people think I'm crazy, but, keep in mind, it is a very integrated company in terms of what they're doing for AI voice recognition, and they are a growing company. So I don't think people or investors truly understand the scale of how much they can grow vertically and how much they can scale. And it's just the beginning. That's bottom line. And what they're doing is they're setting the foundation and they're gaining a lot of clout. So like I mentioned before, have a few amount of shares here. And at one point, I think SoundHound was like 5% of my portfolio, and now it makes up almost 20%, not by choice, but because of the gains. And obviously, I'm not going to sell, but I do believe that this company is onto something great. It is going to be like a rocket ship of basically, it's a rocket ship of ingenuity. It's a rocket ship of, vertical integration. And I don't think there's really any other competitor out there that is doing what SoundHound is doing. They got a great team. They got a great CEO, great leadership. Their integration is, I think, unmatched. So you could tell that my conviction here is basically you can't sway me. But yeah, that is the cat, right? That was in the bag. That is one of my best winners for 2024. So the cat is out of the bag. Yep, the cat is out of the bag. And, come 2025, I think that SoundHound might be very well one of my biggest winners again, because they're just getting started. So, yeah, other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I wish you lots of gains, happy due diligence when it comes to investing. And I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.